here with Quest Trust Company. I am very excited to have today's guest speaker with us, Chris Bounds. He is an investor, an agent here in Houston, and he also hosts a lot of his own educational events as well. So, Chris, it's great to have you here today. Before we get started, as always, I do just have a couple of quick announcements for you guys, kind of while we're letting everyone get signed on, get signed in, things like that. But for those of you guys who do not know me, my name is Haley Gant. I'm one of our certified IRA specialist here at Quest Trust Company. I work in our marketing department, so I have a pretty big hand, as well as some of our other marketing representatives, in putting on all of these events and education for you guys. This webinar is just one of many webinars that we host every single week here at Quest. We've actually been off for 2 weeks from the holidays, and I am so excited to get back into the swing of things this week here with our webinars. So be sure to check out some of the links that we'll be sending in the chat here in just about a minute or so. I do actually have Miss Sarah Shellum, one of our other IRA specialists. She will be online with us moderating today's webinar, and she'll also be sending some links to our other upcoming events and resources that we have for you guys. So just a couple of other events that we have going on this week. Tomorrow night actually is my personal favorite event that we host. It is our virtual networking happy hour. So this is an online, fun, laid back happy hour that I host through Zoom twice a month. It is the first and third Wednesday of every single month at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Sarah will put the link for that here in the chat for you guys. But if you are looking to network with other investors, meet people from pretty much all across the country, this is a great event to attend. It's really taken off since we started them back in August. And come hang out with me, have a glass of wine. It'll be through Zoom. Unfortunately, Quest won't be buying the drinks for this one due to, COVID, things like that. But be sure to join us. The happy hours are a lot of fun, and they're a great way to meet other investors, not only locally, but from all across the US. We also have some other educational webinars going on this Thursday and this Saturday. This Thursday, we actually have a panel with our transactions managers. So if you are looking to fund deals with your IRA, if you're looking for some of those hot topics that, our transactions representatives get asked all the time, be sure to join us on Thursday at noon, right here on Zoom. Kind of rhymed, kind of awesome. And then Saturday, we have our resident self-directed IRA Saturday series with Sean Casterline. So if you guys are interested in learning about senior living investing and how senior living investments have been affected by COVID, where we expect them to go in the future, this will be a really great high quality presentation that we'll be doing this Saturday, again at 12 p.m. Central Time. But, other than all of our events that we host, we really love to educate investors all across the US about how to build wealth, not only for today, but for retirement, how to build wealth completely tax deferred or tax free. So if you guys are interested in learning more about self-directed IRAs, the different types of accounts that can be self-directed, or really just, kind of a push or a point in the right direction, give us a call. You can talk with one of our certified IRA specialists pretty much at any time through the week. We're really easy to get a hold of. We also have an online chat feature through our website. So if you're just looking for some quick answers to your questions, head on over to questtrust.com. You can chat live with an IRA specialist right there. And we're here to help you out. We understand that this can be a little daunting as you're first getting started. So we love to make the process easy on you and, kind of build that relationship with our clients as we go through and you're learning about all of these different ways that you can build wealth within your 401k or within your IRA. So that's all I have for my quick announcements. Chris, I want to go ahead and pass it along to you. I'm super excited for not only your presentation today, but I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about your big event that you have coming up on January 15th. So, we'll talk about that, but guys, be sure to definitely keep an eye out for that. Quest will be involved. We're a sponsor. So Chris, go ahead and take it away. I'm super excited to hear your presentation today, and I'll come back on at the end and we can do some Q&A at the end.
Thank you, Haley. Thank you. Glad to be the first one. Appreciate Quest and everything that y'all do and everything you've taught me over the years. And a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about today, you can use Quest and all their resources, both educational and the folks that make Quest who they are, their clients. You can use that to help accomplish your goal, which she alluded to a little bit. For a lot of people, it's building wealth, long-term wealth and passive income. So we'll share my screen and talk about how to build $1 million rental portfolio. And I went the extreme route, and I'm actually going to show you how you can do it in as little as 3 years. And it seems just absolutely crazy, but whenever I lay this out and show you the plan of action, you're going to see actually how simple it is. And I hope you get a lot out of this. It's a strategy that we're using currently, and I'm going to show you a couple of case studies that we've used to actually gross over $250,000 in profit while building our portfolio. So hope you're ready. All right, here we go. So this is first of all, I guess a little about me. 2004, that's when I did my first deal. It was a long time ago, and I was much younger. I was still in college. A lot of my college buddies were sleeping over hangovers. I was out there knocking on doors for pre-foreclosures. It's not really what your typical college kid kind of thing, an activity is. It's just what I did, and ended up doing my first deal. Actually, yeah, okay, good. I have the picture here. This is me in my first deal in San Antonio, Texas. I went to Texas A&M, drove to San Antonio because they were the first county in the nation online at the time. And I sported the most fashionable cargo shorts I could find with an Abercrombie shirt, and went out there and just started knocking on doors and doing that every single weekend for like 3 months straight. And then ended up getting this deal. I think we bought it for like $15,000, which is cheap, but it's also 2004 prices, which was still pretty cheap. But in any case, and that's my mentor showed me how to do what I was doing. Then after I did 4 deals my first year, graduated, got a high paying sales job, didn't really do much in real estate during that time period. And then I got married. And that's when I dropped, and my wife tells us so much better than I do. I dropped this bomb in her lap. We had just been married like maybe a couple months. And I'm like, hey, babe, I want to start flipping houses again. And she was comes from the traditional mindset where you work hard. She was a teacher. You work hard for 40 years and then you retire. And so I dropped this huge bomb in her lap, and she's like a little nervous at first, but goes along, supportive. And then when she started seeing the actual fruits of what we were doing and seeing some actual results, she got fully on board. Now she works like hand in hand through everything in our business. And I'm going to show you our first deal here in a minute. And then 2014, got my real estate license. I still had a job, but 2015, I was able to go full time. And at this point, we're both full time in real estate. Haven't really looked back since 2018. I moved my license over to eXp Realty just because I got involved in real estate to build wealth and build passive income. There was a brokerage that allowed me to do that with my license. It made sense. 2019, started a real estate team to train agents on what we're doing, and also give a lot of leads, because we get a lot of retail leads that we're not able to work with because we're so busy flipping houses or buying rentals or whatever. So we like to give leads out to our team and work with agents nationally. Then we started to invest in agents. This is a program just to allow us just to give more back, give more value to the agents out there, aspiring agents, on how to build wealth and build passive income, so they don't have to show open houses for the next 20, 30, 40 years, or however long they're going to be in this industry. So all in all, we flipped 180 houses, used 17 million in private lender funds. A lot of that money has come from Quest clients. This is why I love Quest, because they taught me how to do this, and they're teaching other folks to become our private lenders. So it's a good deal. You can connect with me on social media. I'm all over social media. Facebook. I don't have LinkedIn up here, but I'm very active on LinkedIn. We put a ton of stuff on YouTube and Instagram. Matter of fact, I can copy and paste some links, and you can even text me too. I've got a texting platform just to stay in touch with folks. So all I ask is, if you get any value out of this all, just like, subscribe, follow me, and definitely appreciate connecting with you. So why am I doing this on a Tuesday afternoon? And more importantly, why do I get up at 4:30 in the morning to grind it out in real estate? And I know grind's kind of an overused word these days, but ultimately I do it because of everyone you see in this picture here. We've got my beautiful wife, Jamie, partner in life, business, and everything. And then wonderful kids, Nathan, he's 7 years old now, and Ellie, who is 4. And we're able to accomplish something that we had before we ever started kids. It was a goal to send our kids to private school, and it was something we always wanted. And we've been able to do that through real estate. But that's my why. It's why all the like great things in real estate, that's fun, that's easy. But it's the bad things, like you need a good why. All those, I guess, the trouble and like the COVIDs that happen, and now your tenants, they got to move out. Like, well, this picture kind of encapsulates why I'm willing to push through those times and just keep going, because I know what I'm building. I know the end result. So having a strong why, which for a lot of people, money is not a why, but it does revolve around what your why is, because money buys time, it buys options, it buys flexibility. So even though money shouldn't be like the root why, it is revolved around whatever your why is. And a lot of financial gurus that they still, I guess, historically, $1 million has been a benchmark for retirement. And that's ultimately what we're all building for, right? Retirement. If you want to retire at 50 or 70 or whatever, $1 million is one of the benchmarks that a lot of the financial gurus talk about. And they take an estimated 4% annual distribution, giving you $40,000 a year to live off of. I don't know about you, but $40,000 is not going to buy me the retirement that I want. In any situation. I want to live a little bit, especially after working this hard for so long. I want to be able to enjoy my latter years a lot more than what $40,000 is going to buy. But I want to draw this out because I want to show an illustration of what this looks like just from what they're talking about. And I'm going to show you how you can get there much faster. And I know there's there's popping up in the chat. I am going to get to some questions at the end. So if you have $100,000 annual income, you're somewhere in the top 10% of Americans at this point. Take out taxes, 23%. Now, this of course assumes you're not doing all the very, not sophisticated, but smart investment strategies that Quest talks about. So 23% taxes, you leaving you with 77 grand. You got 48 grand in living expenses. So now you're left with 29 grand to do whatever you want with, assuming that you do not upgrade your lifestyle, send your kids to college, private school, have any health scares or crazy emergencies. How long would it take to get $1 million? 34 years, working very, very hard. But I'm going to show you how you can actually do it in as little as 3. And it's a lot easier than what you think. So a couple disclosures. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. I am a real estate agent. I'm a real estate investor. And I'm doing everything we're talking about, I'm doing. So I don't talk about these things to say, hey, you do this. But instead, what I would like for you to do is just take everything that I'm showing you, filter it through your unique situation, talk with your financial professionals and your goals and your risk tolerance, and see how maybe you can incorporate some of this to your strategy, your long-term goals of building wealth and building passive income. That's what I'm trying to do. So you don't necessarily have to do exactly what I'm saying here, but you can probably take some of the strategies, and you may even be doing some of this already, but take some of these strategies to get where you're looking to go and meet your goals. Okay, so a couple quick definitions. This is probably very elementary for most of you, but cash flow, net amount of money coming in and out of a business, kind of common sense, right? Income minus expenses, whatever's left over is your cash flow, also called net operating income. And then wealth, assets minus liabilities, that's your wealth, also called your net worth. But I like to redefine wealth, or not redefine it, but I like the definition involving wealth more is time. And this is a concept that I learned from Robert Kiyosaki in one of his books. I think it was Cash Flow Quadrant, where he talks about time. Because if you have enough cash coming in that exceeds your expenses, then at that point your wealth is infinite, because you could live forever and your wealth is not decreasing. Versus if you got $1 million in retirement, no more money coming in, or maybe it's growing at like 1%. Or 2% or whatever bonds are going for these days. But you're spending more than that, then your principal goes down every single month, every single year. So your wealth is decreasing. But we're going to talk about and show you how using wealth as time, that is the goal, on how you can have more money coming in every single month, growing your wealth even as you retire. And that leaves legacy, right? That's what we're all looking for. So there are so many ways to get involved in real estate and build wealth, build passive income. And if you're in this game for any length of time, you're probably going to do most of these, or at least a couple. But being a landlord is by far the greatest overall way that you can build wealth and passive income. As a lender, you get good cash flow because you're just loaning out money. But there's really not many other benefits other than it is the most passive. There's not really any other benefits. Some sophisticated lenders can get leverage, but by and large, you're just loaning out your money. The good thing is it's very passive. You don't have to do much. You just look at a deal, a couple paperwork pushes, which you're not even paying for, the borrower is paying for. It's a good deal, very passive. The wholesaler, on the other hand, similar to the lender, but is not passive at all. It's very active. And the only way that they're going to achieve any type of cash flow is by having a consistent deal flow. The flipper, they have a couple of other advantages because they can get leverage by using other people's money, Quest clients' money, hard money lenders, and they can they're buying equity, and their cash flow also comes from deal flow. They may have some appreciation, but typically they're in and out quickly, so usually not. But the landlord, you get equity, you're usually buying it at a discount. You get cash flow through tenants paying your rent, or tenants paying the mortgage. And of course, the rent is higher than mortgage, taxes, and insurance. That's your cash flow. Appreciation over time. Properties tend to double every 10 years. The tax benefits, just tremendous, especially if you have W-2 income. The tax benefits are absolutely amazing. And then leverage, borrowing other people's money to buy these properties. And if you buy them cheap enough, you can actually do it where you don't have any money out of pocket. And that's my favorite way to do it, because that means I can buy as many as I want. So what I'm going to talk about, and I am going to move fast through this first part, because I want to actually show you the plan of action. And it's something that we work with agents on our mastermind team on more deeply on these various elements. But this is a strategy which you may be familiar with, the BRRRR strategy, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. But I'm gonna put a little twist on that, and that's why I actually call this strategy the slow flip strategy, because there's a little element, a little twist at the end that allows you to accelerate the growth of a portfolio, and also how you could actually do that in as little as 3 years, have $1 million in net worth, so or assets. So here's first the BRRRR strategy: buy, and this is really one of the best ways to grow a portfolio to begin with. It's truly amazing. We've been doing this for years. So buy, go out and buy a property, typically using short-term financing, Quest clients to borrow money from them, go out and buy a property at a discount. You're getting a discount probably because it needs a lot of work. So you're going to have to do repairs. You're going to rehab the property, get it up to rent ready condition or full market condition, so you can rent it out, get that tenant paying rent, and get it cash flowing. Now you need to refinance. Now you do want to make sure that you qualify for long-term financing before you start buying properties, or at least have a private lender that's willing to do it long-term on the get-go. But in any case, if you have short-term financing, you do, which most of the time you will, you're going to need to refinance out with your long-term financing. This is your cheaper money, either local banks, or if you qualify conventional, you can do that. There are some investment banks that love loaning money out for rental properties these days too. So get refinanced out, then you repeat. You just do it over and over again. And the cool thing about it is when you do it this way, by using short-term financing in the beginning, you can refinance out. And if you bought it cheap enough, have very little to no money out of pocket, and you can keep doing it over and over. So you don't have to keep putting 20% down like you would if you just bought it using conventional financing. So you keep repeating. But here's the little twist. You sell. And it may seem counterintuitive if you're trying to grow a portfolio. Why would you sell your assets? And it is a good point, but I'm going to show you why selling can actually help you exponentially grow the portfolio. Here's a case study. And this case study is in Sugar Land, Texas. It's 2730 Mesquite. It's a home that's very near and dear to both me and my wife's heart. That's because it was the first property that we bought together in the Houston area. The home, you can't really tell, but the bottom right, and if you've been in distressed properties, you know the smell, you know the just the dirtiness that comes along with it. That carpet in the bottom right, you can't tell, is blue. I don't know when blue was popular in houses, but whenever that was, the carpet obviously had not been changed or cleaned since then. They had multiple dogs that lived in the house, which it just absolutely smelled. It smelled so bad that this was the one and only house that Jamie went on the appointment with me. And it smelled so bad, she actually had to excuse herself to go wait in the truck while I finished locking up the deal. But smelly houses smells like opportunity to me. So I stuck it out. We got a good deal. So we bought it. Then we had to rehab it. We rehabbed it to meet the comps, to hit the rent that we were targeting. We rented it out and then refinanced. Now, and a little trick there, you don't have to wait until you rent it out to refinance. You can actually start the refinance process the moment you buy it. You just wait to order the appraisal after you've completed the rehab. Now, depending on the type of loan, once you rent it out, the income from that lease may be able to benefit your debt to income ratios, but that's lender specific. But in any case, we rehabbed it, rent grade, just matched the comps, didn't do anything too crazy, as you can tell. Then eventually, in this particular market, this is Sugar Land, Texas, the taxes and insurance just outgrew the pace of rent, which is good. We were building wealth, but eventually it put such a squeeze on cash flow. We decided, hey, look, why don't we just sell? And then we can sell and actually reinvest those funds back into multiple rental properties. So that's what we did. This is a history of what this home looked like. At the top is the whenever we bought it in all of its glory. The middle is when we did our rent ready rehab, and then at the bottom is when we got it. We went back in and did the full scale remodel, put in the nicer fixtures to hit our actual ARV or the full market potential of the property. And here's a breakdown of the numbers. We bought this house for $85,000. Put in between the two rehabs. Most of this was on the front end before we rented it, but $65,000 in repairs. It cash flowed for a little over $14,000 over basically a 3-year period. Then we sold it for $237,000. It sold like the first weekend, I think full asking price, and it gave us a gross profit of over $100,000. Of course, there's commissions and title expenses and stuff like that you would take out. But I was an agent, so the commissions, I earned half of it. So not a bad deal, right? But here's the cool thing about this. This property, if we would have flipped it, we would have made about 30 grand. And 30 grand, not bad for a flip, right? Especially given the profit margin from what it was worth at the time. But we didn't. We held it. And we held it and we cash flowed it. And now we had 100 grand in gross profit to redeploy back into multiple properties. That is the power of using the slow flip strategy. 5806 Hoover. This is another property we bought. This one's up off just outside of the inner loop off 290 and bought it. We actually didn't have to do a lot of rehab here. I think we replaced the roof. I don't even know if we painted. We probably did a few fixtures. I know we didn't do a lot to it because it still has white appliances and it doesn't have granite. But in any case, bought it, did our light rehab, rented it out, and then refinanced long term. This particular tenant stayed for 3 years as well. And once similar to the other one, it didn't, the rent, it was rising at a much slower pace than taxes and insurance, always putting a squeeze on cash flow. So just like the other one, we decided, hey, why don't we sell it and just redeploy the proceeds? So we did the full rehab, get it on the market. We bought this house for $80,000, repairs $36,000. Most of this was actually on the back end after the tenant moved out because we didn't have to do a lot on the front end. Cash flow almost 13 grand over a 3-year period. Sold it for $224,000, giving us a gross profit of almost $220,000. This one was just absolutely amazing because it was so little work. But I do like to highlight, if we would have flipped it, we would have only made about 30 grand, 25, 30 grand. It would not have been as much, but because we bought it, we held it and it grew. It's, of course, it grew during a good time period. The market was really strong. I can't control that. But in any case, we were able to take advantage of the appreciation, and then along with the depreciation on our taxes while we held it. One other case study. So I like to throw this one in because if you consider the other two home runs, which they are, not every deal is like that. This one's more like a base hit or maybe a double. This is 835 Forest Park up in the Spring area. We bought this house. We didn't have to do a lot. I think paint, and we changed we may have changed the carpet and the flooring in the living area, but that was about it. The previous owner kept it in really good shape. So we rehabbed it, rented it out, refinanced it, just like the other ones. Then after this one, the tenant actually didn't stay. It was maybe 2 years. I think a little after the second lease renewal. She had a job situation, single parent. She was like, hey, can I get out? She no longer could afford rent. So we told her, hey, look, keep it clean when you move out, which she did. It was like she never even lived there. Probably best tenant ever. So we told her, like, hey, look, what we'll do is we'll actually just put it on the market. And then once we sell it, your lease will be done. And it sold very quickly. So this is what the numbers look like here. $103,000 purchase price. Spent almost 16 grand in repairs, cash flow $5,700. Sold it for 157,000. I don't even want to look what the comps are today because I'd imagine we probably wish we didn't sell it, but ended up grossing 43,871. Now, the reason why this one's much lower, one, we held it lower, and the other two, they were home runs. That's great. This one's more like a base hit, but if we would have flipped this home, we would have made about $15,000. We were able to double the returns, or more than double the returns, because we cap it as a rental. So just like in the other ones, we were able to triple and probably in the case of Hoover, quadruple our returns just by holding it. And we take this money and redeploy it. So here's the plan of action. I have to use static numbers. This can get very complicated, but that's not necessary to get the overall concept of what we're trying to do here. And that's just a systematic approach to buying assets that cash flow, letting it build over time. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So in a static example, we're going to assume $150,000. That's what they're worth after repairs. You're going to borrow and buy them at 75% minus repairs. So you're all in. You're going to be at $112,500. Rent, following the 1% rule, $1,500. PITI, a little over $1,100. I think I assumed here roughly 6% interest, which there's much better rates out there. I was quoted from a local bank like 3.5% recently. So depending on your financial situation and how bank worthy you are, you can get much better financing. Reserves, got to have reserves. This is capital expenditures. Things break, tenants move out. So $150 a month, leaving you with a net cash flow of $238. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to buy one property a year. And I'm going to do that and just break that out for a 10-year period in this static example. So this is just following the BRRRR strategy. And then after we do that, I'm actually going to show you what it looks like when you implement the slow flip strategy, that little twist where you sell one and then reinvest and exponentially grow your portfolio. So in the static example, we're buying one a year. Anyone can do that. Even if you don't have great credit, you can do it. There's plenty of lenders out there that they want nice assets to loan their money on. They don't care as much about your situation, and they just want to loan money on good assets. So here we go. One property. Using this example, you'd have $238. If you buy this property this year, $238 in cash flow, equity, $37,500. As you can see, one rental property will not make you rich. Do it again next year. You buy another one, everything doubles. Not rich, but it's growing. Year 3, getting a little bit better. You're nowhere near retirement. But year 4, now we get to year 5. Now this is some serious money now. For a lot of people, $1,000 a month passive coming in, whether you like it or not, like that's good. That's life-changing for some people, but even if you're doing well, this is pretty good money. Not bad. Plus the equity on the side, an extra $187,000 is it looks good on the balance sheet. Year 6, 7, 8, getting serious now. 9, now you're over $2,000 a month. Year 10. So you do this for 10 years, one property a year. Anyone can do that. Now you've got a little over $2,300 in cash flow coming in every single month with a little over $250,000 in equity, $375,000 in equity. So cool thing is there's a little hidden gem in this number. Like if you look at it from this static example, like $2,300, that is serious. For most people, that's life-changing. They can do a lot with that. The equity itself right now, not bad, but you're actually already a millionaire. You're already a millionaire because that $375,000 doesn't take in any consideration for appreciation of the property, also the debt pay down, and then this is what you have to do. Once your tenants pay off their properties, you now own, if they don't go up in value a single dollar, once your tenants pay off the properties, you now have a rental portfolio worth $1.5 million. You're a millionaire. You just have to let your tenants pay off the properties. That's how easy it is. So as we know, properties do appreciate over time. Even the worst areas, it's not a 100% like this always will happen, because I guess you could invest in like a Detroit or some areas like that. But in any case, most areas, properties appreciate on average, they'll double every 10 years. So, but if they don't go up in value at all, right now you're sitting on a portfolio of $1.5 million. You are a millionaire, congratulations. But we are going to do things a little differently there. We're going to use the slow flip strategy. Here's how it works. Buy one property a year, just like you did before. So at the end, you've got your 10 properties, but you're actually going to do something different starting on year 6. You're going to take a look at your portfolio and you're going to figure out what is the worst property in your portfolio. And worst, what I mean here is either the taxes and insurance went up way faster than rent, kind of like the ones in the case studies that I used. So that usually means you have a lot of equity because it went up in value, or it's just one of those pain in the butt ones. Like you're always getting bad tenants, or it's always got some type of like problem that you're having to repair. But in any case, you take your worst property and then you sell it starting on year 6. And you're going to do that every year. Year 6, year 7, 8, 9, and 10. You're still going to buy one, but you're going to be selling your worst one in the portfolio. So you're actually going to, when you sell it, you're going to take the proceeds and replace that property. Plus, because you have extra proceeds, right? You have equity, you're going to buy one more. You're going to double them. So you will have bought your 10. And then year 6 through 10, you'll actually sell one each year. So you'll have sold 5, but replaced all of those properties with 2, so leaving you with a total of 15. Hope that makes sense. So in this example, you'd have at the end of the 10-year period, $3,500 in cash flow and a little over $500,000 in equity if they don't go up in value at all, which once the tenants pay them off, if they don't go up in value at all, now your portfolio is worth $2.25 million. What if you buy 2 a year? How does that look? Well, buy 2 properties every single year, you got 20 at the end of 10 years. Starting in year 6, you're going to do like you did before, except for selling 1. Now you're going to sell 2, and you're going to use the proceeds to buy not just 2 more to replace them, but actually 4 more, because you're turning 1 property into 2. So at the end of the 10-year period, now you have a total of 30 properties. So now your cash flow at the end of this period would be $7,100 in cash flow. Now that right there, there's a lot of people that quit their job. If not saying you would or should, but you could. $7,000 a month coming in passive, you can live off that. Or maybe one, if you're like husband and wife team, then one of you potentially could. That's good money. Your equity here, $1.1 million. But when the tenants pay off the properties, if they don't go up in value at all, you're at $4.5 million in rental properties. And of course, if you want to get really, really crazy, go out and buy 3 properties a year. You've got 30 at the year at the end of 10 years, but starting on year 6, you're going to sell 3 of your worst ones. And then you're going to replace those 3, but also buy 3 more. So at the end of the 10-year period, you got 45 properties. Now that gives you a cash flow of $10,000 a month, equity, $1.6 million. Once your tenants pay them off, if it doesn't go up in value at all, $6.75 million. This is huge. Now, at this point, like it's game changing if you want to be this aggressive. But back to the question, how can you achieve millionaire status in 3 years? Based on what we're looking at here, it only takes 6 properties. It only takes 6 properties. So if you bought 2 a year for 3 years, you get your 6 properties. Based on this example, you'd have $900,000 in static assets that you control. Let your tenants pay them off. We know they appreciate over time. You're a millionaire. You control $1 million in assets, essentially. So it doesn't take much. So I know a lot of people, and I had this thought whenever I was getting started. It's like, man, I'm gonna go out and we'll go buy like 100 properties or 100 real properties, or I need to get these apartment complexes or whatever. All these like storage units, whatever. So it doesn't take that much. If your goal is not to go out and be like the next Grant Cardone or Donald Trump or whatever, if you just want to build wealth and build passive income, it doesn't take much. Get 6 properties, you're a millionaire, buy more, buy 1 a year. It's so easy to build a portfolio. Now, there are a couple of key points to do this successfully because it's simple. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple. You do have to buy like a flipper. And I don't mean that as you have to buy as cheap as a flipper, because you don't. Flippers have to make their money now. Like they make their money when they buy. Because if they paid the wrong price, then they'll never be able to make that up. Hopefully they had enough margin. They'll probably just lose money. But what I mean is the flipper knows their numbers, because if they don't, they lose money. So know your numbers. And that's pretty easy to do because you're going to know what you're buying it at. Rental comps are pretty easy to target. And at that point, your main X factor is whatever financing you're going to be able to get and your repairs. And surprises and repairs can come up, but you'll be able to get, especially through experience and working with professional contractors, be able to get pretty good at that. And it's a risk you're going to be able to manage. You do have to manage these properties like a professional. I suggest if you have a full-time job, if you don't think you're going to be good or will enjoy managing rentals, don't. Because the best deals come from bad landlords. And most of those landlords were accidental landlords. But for whatever reason, like they didn't manage it well, tenants run down the property, it's distressed. Now, like it gets on my radar and we buy it at a discount. You don't want to be that. There's plenty of property management companies that for a flat fee, $80, $100 a month, they'll manage your property regardless of what the rent is, and they'll manage it. And you can just, all you have to do is manage them. You do need to manage your property manager, but they're going to be able to take all that day-to-day work off your hands. Now, if you can be a rock star property manager on the ball and screen well on the front end, and of course, enforce the rules on the back end with tenants and stay on top of laws, then managing yourself may be a good way to go. But either way, it has to be managed professionally. Financing is key. Know that up front. Get establish relationships with local banks now. Even if you're not buying rentals, go open up some checking accounts with some local banks because they're going to be your best friend whenever you need money. And it's always easier whenever you already have a history with them. And then, of course, networking with private lenders at Quest events and other hard money companies to have that acquisition financing ready. Accounting. Don't do this yourself. Unless you're like a certified bookkeeper or public like CPA, don't do this yourself. And even still, you probably should have someone else do it because it is time consuming, and a professional doing your accounting is going to save you a lot more than what they're going to cost you. And then escrow. You have to escrow for capital expenditures and vacancy because they do happen over time. It's not a matter of if. You can have the best tenants, but eventually they're going to move out. They may die or COVID may happen and they have to move out because they can't pay. You need an escrow account to be able to fund for those type of things. Hurricanes happen, floods happen. You've got to be able to manage that. And then reinvest. That is the big thing with growing. So you can take money off the top, that's fine. But if you take everything, it's a little hard to grow. Keep it fun, keep it entertaining. You don't have to go out and buy like a Range Rover or go on like this month-long vacation in Tahiti or whatever. You can take a little bit of money out. We did. On our first one, that Mesquite, where we made like $100,000 gross, we went out and bought like a $1,500 coffee, like an espresso machine. I'm not a big coffee drinker, or I am now. I wasn't then, but that kept it interesting. Like it was a nice little trinket, a nice little thing to reward ourselves, and then everything else went back into business. With the second one, I think we went out just to a nice dinner. So have fun, like enjoy the hard work that you're doing whenever it does pay off, but reinvest most of it. And then take action, right? Like hopefully this inspired you to take a little bit of action. Before I wrap it up into Q&A, I do have a gift because a friend of mine, and I know he's a big client with Quest, he has a book called The Private Lender Playbook and talks about how to raise money with private lenders. And a lot of these private lenders are Quest clients because they have such amazing educational opportunities and resources for folks to get in non-traditional assets like real estate. So he wrote this book called The Private Lender Playbook, teaching folks who want to lend how to lend. But the good thing for you as the investor is it gives you the kind of a sneak peek behind the scenes look at what lenders look for in both opportunities and borrowers, you. And it's an amazing resource. And if you would like a free copy, he's given me the permission to do this. First, a little promise I said in the beginning, hopefully that's still good. If you got any value out of this at all, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can text me, connect with me. But for a free copy of the book, we're hosting a huge event, not this Friday, but next Friday, January 15th. And Quest is a partner with us on that event. They're sponsoring the event and co-hosting it. So it's called the Invested Agent Summit, and you can RSVP by going to investedagents.com/summit. We have an all-star lineup, like Folks, Eddie Gant, 4,700 deals he's been a part of, 4,700 deals. I'm going to be talking about more of what we talked about today. Eddie's going to be talking about his experience. Audra Diggs, working with real estate investors. Ian Flanagan, case study on how a fix and flip works. Matt Gardner, this guy just got licensed like 2 years ago, and he did 74 deals in his second year. He's in multiple multifamily properties now. The guy's closed like $4 million, I think, just in the last 30 or 45 days. Jamie's going to be talking about Airbnb and kind of a crash course on Airbnb. Brant about raising private money. Connor Steinbrook on social media marketing, which if you're not on social media, like, you need to get a social media plan if you want to actively grow your business, because that's no longer a necessity. It's now a requirement for the digital age. And the Arian Lemire, $50,000 in debt to financially free in about 3 years. She's going to be sharing how she did it. But if you RSVP for the event, send you a free copy of the book. You'll get it in your email. So investedagents.com/summit. I've been talking for a long time. I'm going to take it off screen share, and hopefully everyone's still awake.
I know I sure am. That was very interesting. I always love to see case studies, and I know all of our attendees out there really like to see them as well, because it's one thing to talk about. Oh, you can buy real estate, you can build wealth, but how do you actually do it? What are the numbers? So great presentation. And guys, I did put the link to the Invested Agents event there in the chat. It's a free event. You get the book for free, so it's a great value. Be sure to watch out for that Eddie Gant guy. He's kind of all right. Also happens to be my dad, and it's the reason why I'm here at Quest today. But Chris, are you ready to do some Q&A? We do have a few questions here in the chat.
Let's do it. If I don't know the answer, I'll make it up.
Right. Sounds good to me. Ryan wants to know, and a lot of these came through during your case studies. With the slow flip strategy, don't you also eliminate self-employment taxes? Is this assumption correct?
Well, keep in mind, I'm not a CPA. So I think maybe the question is, if you flip a house, it's active income. Or if you wholesale a house, it's active income. If I go out and do a commission for someone, it's active income. But with a rental property, it's not active income anymore. This is an investment. So when I sell it a couple of years later on, now it becomes it's taxed differently. It's a capital gain, which for a lot of people is probably going to be lower. And it may even be nothing. And there are strategies like 1031 exchanges where you can defer taxes if you even have it. But yes, I mean, it is taxed differently. And for almost most people out there, it will be taxed it's much better. Much better.
Yes, but ask your CPA to get that true tax advice.
Yep.
So we always like to tell people here at Quest. This one came in, I think, through your last case study that you mentioned. Mike wanted to know, is the equity amount the down payment? I don't know if you can elaborate on that a little bit more.
It depends on how much you're paying. So it can be, but I could actually buy a property that's worth 200 grand. And as an extreme example, if I were to actually only buy it for 50 and put 50 in it, so now I'm all in at 100, it's worth 200, but I could borrow, most lenders would give me up to 75% loan to value. So I can actually get money back on that. So I don't have any down payment. But yeah, I mean, if you take that same property and you pay 170 for it, then you're going to have to put down a little bit of equity, a little bit of a down payment to get that 70% to 80% loan to value that a lot of lenders are going to want. So it just depends on how cheap you buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And sorry, guys, my microphone was all the way on the other side of my desk. So probably hear me a little bit better now. Darlene has a good question. Darlene wants to know, do you 1031 exchange any of your sales? If yes, how do you manage the 1031 timeline?
I don't. And I know there are benefits to it. I choose to keep it simple, and I don't want to be rushed to find some other deal just to do the 1031. Whatever. I'll just go ahead and pay the taxes. And here's also my view on it. I'm going to be growing. I plan on making more money next year than this year. And then 5 years from now, I plan on making like 10 times more money than I am now. I'll probably be in a higher tax bracket. Hopefully I can use a lot of, some ninja stuff to not pay as much, but in any case, I'll just pay it now. But I do know people who do 1031s. They like it. So it has advantages. There are pros and cons.
Yes, definitely. Great answer there. And, while we're talking about wanting to make more money next year, even more money, even 5 years after that, do you do any of your investments in a Roth IRA?
I have loaned out of my Roth.
Hmm.
And I do have a plan to buy a property and do like owner's finance in my kids' Covadels.
Yeah,
So
nice.
that way it grows. And then, when they're old enough to go to college, and college costs like $500,000 at the time, like hopefully the property is too. But a lot of the properties that we buy, we borrow money from Quest clients.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah. And I always like to bring that up there because, guys, if you don't have a Roth IRA, going to do a small plug here. It is so important to do at least some of your investments, whether it's owning real estate or like Chris does, private lending out of his IRA completely passively. It's so important to at least be building some of your wealth in that completely tax sheltered vehicle, such as the Roth IRA. Because as we do get more experience in real estate, we're going to be making more money, probably going to end up paying more in taxes, at least at some point in time. So if you guys are interested in that Roth IRA, reach out to us. Sarah put our direct contact info there in the chat, but just had to throw that in there because, it is an IRA class, but we do have just a few more questions here.
Mm-hmm.
Mark wants to know, can the real estate strategy work for someone who does not have a lot of personal assets saved up yet? Great question.
Yeah, it all depends on how. I mean, okay, so think about it. I bought the very first deal. I didn't keep it as a rental, but I was in college. I had no job, no credit, like the quintessential story of broke and no credit. That was me. I was just a college kid. I was like 22 years old or whatever. So I was able to buy that house. Now, I didn't know how to, but if I wanted to do it, I didn't know how to at the time. I could have kept it as a rental. And the third deal that I bought, I did keep as a rental. But that particular deal I didn't. So no, you don't have to have job, or you don't have to have money and credit. If you want to get, I mean, long-term lenders will want to see reserves and liquidity. They are going to want to see some of that. So, but here's how you mitigate it. Partner with someone who has it. Like if you don't have it, give someone else some equity and they'll like JV on the deal. So there's always a way to figure out and how to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And the questions are pouring in here. We'll definitely get to as many as we can. This is a good one from Kimberly. Kimberly wants to know, do you recommend remote investing to get better pricing, or do you recommend buying within your location?
This is just my taste. I like buying in places that I know, but the cool thing about Houston is we're so big that I can drive an hour and still be where I know, but it's a completely different area. So we have been buying in the little satellite cities outside of metro. And I think COVID is going to make those cities and communities outside of metro areas all over the nation, especially like New York. Like, can you imagine? Like, everyone's leaving New York. They are, a lot of them coming here, but probably some of them going to be leaving like maybe an hour or two outside of New York, like investing in those communities. But yeah, if you have assets and resources and all that, and you know an area, you can invest anywhere. We have the technology to do it, and even if you have to hop on a flight, a couple hours away.
Mm-hmm. Hey, business write-off, right?
There you go.
Yeah, and I think, Kimberly, one of the most important things there is to make sure that no matter where you are investing, you're knowledgeable about the area, the strategies and exit strategies available, kind of for that investment option, and to have boots on the ground. Boots on the ground is so important no matter where you are. So just kind of to add on to that answer there. But yeah, great information. Let me see here. Where do you find the houses below market?
They're out there everywhere. So there's always, and that was something I remember reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm like, okay, who would sell below market? And there are plenty of people. So I'm a licensed agent. I have actually gone in and I do a full consultation with them. And I've told them, like, look, there was someone I knew. And because I knew him and he's a public figure, I would disclose extra. I went like 2 or 3 times beyond my normal disclosure. Hey, look, I can list this house for you, get you so much money. I know it so quickly because it was a newer house. Mm-hmm. He didn't care. He just needed it sold so he can do what he was going to do after that. And hey, we bought it, kept it as a rental. slow flip strategy ended up working out great. So they're out there, places to market. You can pull lists of public data. Absentee owners, those are people who don't live there. It's probably a rental or an inherited or vacant property. Driving for dollars, looking for the ugly house in a nice neighborhood, house that hasn't been mowed in a while, probates, divorce, pre-foreclosure. And then word of mouth networking.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. All right. So we've got time for just a few more questions here. Guys, if we, for any reason, don't get to your question or you think of one later, we'll put Chris's direct contact info here in the chat before we sign off. So you can reach out to him, pick his brain. He's done a lot of deals. He's got a lot of expertise for you guys. But we'll do just a couple of more questions. Jeff wants to know, as a result of COVID, do you think there will be some significant foreclosure opportunities available?
In the sense that there's going to be some market collapse, I think everyone, when this topic comes up, they're thinking 2008. And you've got to remember, 2008 was an anomaly. Like, it was a full collapse of our financial system, and it's burned in our mind, especially if you experienced like it on the front end, like you lost a house or you knew someone who did, or your parents did. So what we're going through now is not that. We had some third-party event that did cause havoc, and I'm sure there's a lot of, because they're printing a lot of money, that havoc may get played out over time. Who knows? But as far as some like collapse of the housing market, no. We've got 36% in most metro areas, less inventory in the market today. We have more demand on the market now than we did before. Prices are going up. Now that should slow, and it needs to slow. We need to start building more. But yeah, there'll be opportunities with foreclosures. I don't think there's going to be any huge collapse like some people are awaiting. If you're buying rental properties, just buy at a good price. Make sure you've got spread. You're not trying to make your money tomorrow. You just need to let your tenants pay them off, and you don't have to be as worried about the day-to-day market fluctuations.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Actually, it kind of reminds me. So like my dad uses this strategy all the time, picks up rentals, holds them, has like probably about 150 now, but they had this property up in April Sound in Conroe. And he literally said, when we bought this house, it was the ugliest house on the street, owned it for 10 years. The tenants paid it off, never did a full rehab. He said when they sold the house, it was still the ugliest house on the street. But over the course of the lifetime of the investment, the tenant paid it off, it built equity, it appreciated in value. So, even though it still wasn't the prettiest house in the neighborhood, it made a great long-term investment. Yeah, so also something to think about there. Mm-hmm. Love it. All right. So this will be the last question. And this is kind of an opinion-based question, I think. We don't have to get too deep into the analysis of this. Justin wants to know, wouldn't purchasing one multifamily property per year via FHA loan over 3 years be a better strategy than one single family property per year? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, better is subjective. From a management standpoint, it's potentially definitely easier. I say potentially because it depends on the multifamily, it depends on the area and your ability to manage. But yeah, potentially, they're not as liquid, so there could be a market event to where it's just not as easy to get rid of them. Now, single family tends to be very liquid. Within 30, 45 days at the right price, in the right market situation, you can get rid of them pretty easily. So would I rather have multifamily? Yes. It's definitely easier, but I know single family very well. And that's just why I stay there. But I've had a lot of friends move over into multifamily. They do it successfully. One of them actually, within a few years, he's got like 2,000 plus units. Through syndication, the dude's crushing it. It's a different game, but could be better.
Yeah. And I love that question because, you see a lot of people that either really focus in multifamily or focus in single family. It really kind of comes down to whatever your preference is, because, if you invest into something that you are passionate about or you're knowledgeable about, you're going to make more money doing that than investing into something you are not knowledgeable about. So that's a huge key there. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a great class and great interaction from our audience to really kick it off for the new year. Before we sign off for the day, do you have any last kind of closing thoughts or messages that you would like to leave our audience with today?
It's been a pleasure. Basically, it all starts with that one property, and really anyone can do it. Even if you like work at McDonald's and you're 18 years old right now, like we've got a 19-year-old agent on our team, and he's working on some investment properties. But I mean, he's actually built a real estate team. I don't know, he's got like 10 agents on his team. And he's building that passive income through a different way. So anyone can do it. It all starts with taking action. You won't know everything, but once you do your first deal, you'll know more. And then you'll be able to do it again, and then do it again. And then just network with folks and go to Quest events for that high quality education and networking.
Yes, definitely. And that's a great segue for my last kind of final plug of the day before we sign off. Guys, be sure to join us for our virtual networking happy hour. It's tomorrow through Zoom at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. I did post that Zoom link in the chat for you guys. And I see that Chris has sent all of his information there as well. Be sure to like their pages, Invested Agents, on Facebook. They've got their website. They've got his own personal phone number. So be sure to check out that information in the chat before the presentation ends. And also there is a link in the chat kind of at the very end here for our YouTube channel. So this webinar, as well as pretty much every other webinar that we host at Quest, the recording is saved and archived on our YouTube channel, along with about 3 other weekly educational videos that we post every single week. So our YouTube is a great resource. You can find pretty much all of our free education there. So be sure to check that out. Be sure to check out the Invested Agents event next Friday, January 15th. It's a free event. You'll also get Brant Phillips' free book. I actually bought mine, so I didn't even get a free book, but that's okay. The knowledge is so valuable in there. So guys, be sure to check out all of this information and reach out to Chris or anyone at Quest if you have any other questions. And we'll hopefully see you tomorrow night in our happy hour, or see you in our other events that we have coming up this week.
Thanks, Haley.
That's all I've got. Y'all have a great day. Thank you so much, Chris. I'll see you tomorrow, actually. All right. Bye, everyone.